Can you hear me now? Okay. Well, Ty, you and I, you and I are ready to go. I wish I had some idea as to why and how that happened, because I've been doing this for a while. It's never had that happen before, and all I did this time is it just signed off, came back on, and this is all okay now. All right. If you have problems with your computer, lose my number. Do not call me. Okay, I have no idea how and why that happened. I have no idea how and why I fixed it, but I am here and apparently it's working. So, what I said before was I actually taught the whole class and none of you guys could hear it. So, I don't want to do that. I'm joking. My name's Peter Lemieux with the Insurance Exam Queen. I've been in the insurance business for over 50 years. I have known Melissa Dillon for quite a while and I've worked with her. I've always admired her work, and so I asked her if I could help her. Right now, I'm going to do a live class. It's for life and health students, and we're going to talk about the product of disability income. I'm going to marry it to long-term care insurance. But since we had a little bit of trouble getting going, I'm insecure. Everybody okay? You can hear me? You're not just looking some old guy mumbling in front of his computer. Are we okay? All right, thank you. I made a little chart to get us started. Um, First of all, just big picture, okay? What is disability in what is it all about? Why do people need or buy disability income? Very simple reason. You get disabled and you can't go to work. You don't get fired, you have the job, but you can't go in because you're sick or had an accident and you just physically can't go to work. So employers will usually put up that for a short period of time, or maybe they won't. Maybe you're paid by the hour and you don't go in, you don't get paid at all. How am I supposed to pay my bills if I can't physically get into work? Purchase a disability income policy prior to getting sick, right? And so that if that happens to you, the insurance company will pay you. That's why we call it disability income. Disability income. So, just big picture, what is this all about? Disability income works this way. Peter's famous, now infamous, going in the Smithsonian whiteboard. I can put it up so you can't see me. Isn't that great? So, let me just try to get it in the middle of the folks, there are three things you need to know about disability income, and they are on this slide. Number one, you have to purchase an amount of insurance. Now, notice that it says relation of insurance to income. Let me just put this down so I can see the screen. What that means, quite frankly, is you can't not buy more insurance than you're making at work. Insurance doesn't work that way. If I have a $200,000 home, I can't insure it for $2 million. No insurance company is going to take that risk because I would make a huge profit just torching the home, right? Same thing with disability income. Pick a number, any number, make $5,000 a month. They aren't going to let you buy a policy for $10,000 because it would be very profitable for you to get disabled. So you got to buy insurance where the relation of insurance to income is acceptable to the insurance company. The insurance company will never allow you to buy exactly what you make. You must buy less. Simple reason, you don't take home 5,000 if you're making 5,000. You've got taxes and other stuff that comes out of your pay. So again, the insurance company they want to replace your income, but they don't want to give you a raise. So the insurance companies put a percentage on there. You don't need to know a percentage. It's up to the insurance company. This isn't on the test, but the most common one is 2/3 of your income you can buy. If you come to me to buy the insurance, I take, um, I write down how much you're making. You have to prove it, by the way, with W-2s or something. This is how much our insured is making. I will then be able to look on the insurance company's chart and tell you what percentage of that you can insure. That's the most you can buy. I'll just make it up. Let's say you make 5,000, the insurance company says you can buy 3,500 a month. I made that up. Don't go to the bank with it. Can you buy less? Sure. You just can't buy more, okay? Or you get overinsured. Step one is you have to buy the insurance. Step two is you have to select something we call an elimination period. An elimination period works like a deductible where you say, no insurance company is going to pay you first day. I mean, if they did, they would be sending you a check if you got a cold. So there's a certain amount of days that you have to take as I'll take care of myself for this period of time. Maybe you got PTL at work or some money in savings. But the longer you can let the insurance company back off, that's the elimination period, the less you pay in premium. If I wanted to buy a policy with a 7-day elimination period, the insurance company's got a high likelihood of having to pay me sometime during the year. You can get that just being sick, right? However, so they're going to charge me for a higher risk of them paying out. If I tell them, look, I can take care of myself for 1 month and I take a 1 month waiting period, I have to get disabled for longer than 30 days to get a check. They will charge me less money. The longer I make the elimination period, the less I pay for the policy. So you must select some form of elimination period. Um, and most people, uh, my advice as a salesman is take the longest period that lets you sleep at night. 30 days is too long, Peter. If I don't have any money for 30 days, I can't make my car payments. Okay, it's too long. How about 2 weeks, 14 days? Pick the one that gives you what you need. The shorter you make it, the more you have to pay. Finally, step 3 on my famous whiteboard is you have to select a benefit period. A benefit period says, if I start receiving a check, how long do you want that check to last? You can make it last all the way up to your retirement date at age 65. Now, if you're young, that's a long time. And the insurance company is now having to figure out that I could have to pay this person a lot of money. They'll charge you more money for a longer benefit period. But you can select the elimination period, the benefit period. You can even select the amount of insurance. So you as the client, whether you're buying it as an individual or you own a company and you're buying it for your employees, you have 3 moving parts, right? To design your plan. And you tell the insurance company what you want them to do. I just sold a group plan, 2/3 of the income. Uh, 2 weeks wait, benefit period, 2 years. So they just told the employees, look we can cover you up to 2 years. If you have a long-term disability, we don't go that far. But you only got a 2-week elimination period, then we start giving you 2/3 of your income. That's the parts this employer chose. You could select a 5-year benefit period. I think you guys get the idea, okay? What I want you to know is you have 3 moving parts that you select when you buy disability income. So I know I lost some people in this sound, no sound, but I want to make sure, are we all okay so far? Give me a thumbs up on the chat box or something. Um, I want to pull up a some slides, okay, that I have selected. Oops, that's not how I'm doing. Sure. Just a second, folks. I've got some slides that'll help me walk through what I want to tell you. I've selected a lot of slides, so I told you I have a lot to share with you people. So I'll try to go quickly to respect your time. Okay. Um, this is a picture of all the things I've decided to cover. In an interest of time, I'm going to not read them to you. I'm just going to go ahead and start covering them. Okay. What is disability income and how much can I get? If you're working a job for income, you suffer a disabling injury or sickness that prevents you from income, your disability income policy will pay you your missed income. Now, there's also Social Security that you could get, and I'll talk about that in a little while. If you pay Social Security tax, you could already be covered for disability with Social Security, and I want to talk about that in a little bit. But right now, we're going to talk about disability income from a private insurer. Obviously, you can own both. If you're working, you buy taxes, you have disability income, but then you buy your own. And I'll explain why that might be a good idea. What's the purpose of disability income? This is a question. Replaceable income when you can no longer work for any reason. Uh, don't like that because if you get laid off, it's not going to pay you. Replace income you can no longer work due to a disabling injury, sickness or injury. Bing, bing, bing. Medical bills, doesn't pay medical bills. It doesn't replace workers' comp. B would be the correct answer here. Now, how much can I get? I'm going to tell you, let me just unshare this for a minute. I'm going to tell you, I've already explained this to you. You can only buy insurance in relation to your income, and it has to be a percentage. I'm not going to read the slides to you. I think that perhaps is going to be really kind of not the most exciting. Let me move on. Actually, we already did this one. How can we purchase disability income insurance? Three things, right? You got price. Um, you have to be approved for it. This is not guaranteed issue. So you have to be insurable. You have to be able to prove the income you have so we know what insurance will allow you to buy. And you have to tell them how long. Remember my three items, okay? The three items are you choose insurance, elimination period, and benefit period. You can buy it as an individual or an employer can give it to you when you go to work there with group insurance. The policy is the same in structure, whether you buy your own or your boss buys it for you. Insurance, elimination period, benefit period. Um, we now get to the difference in language between short-term disability. I wish I could tell you why this happens, but I can't. I don't know why. Individual policy, if you are insured for less than 2 years, we call it short-term disability. But in group, if you buy group insurance, short-term disability, it only lasts for 3 months. Was that 26 weeks? Is that 3 months? Yeah, 26 weeks. That's short term. Longer than that, it's not that you can't buy the insurance. If you want to be covered longer, we call it long term insurance. I don't think that's very important to understanding it, and I'm not going to go through that with you. Um, Group disability income benefits are usually based on a percentage of the employee's gross income. I think I already explained that to you. I don't want to go through and explain gross income. You can only buy a percentage of what you earn. Now, taxes is an area that really messes with people. So if you're going to be taking notes, my friends, you might take a picture of the slide or whatever. In an individual policy, you buy that policy with money that's always been already been taxed. Your take-home pay from work is what you have in your checking account, right? You already paid taxes on that money. So when you buy that policy, taxes have been paid. And when you get disabled, your disability income tax is tax free. It's different when your employer pays the premium, because when your employer pays the premium, they don't pay taxes on it. That means your check is taxed. Here's the principle. I hope this will make some sense to you. You are going to pay tax on the payment you make to the insurance company or the check you receive when you're disabled. You will get taxed on one of them, not both, and not neither. The government is going to get their taxes. So you buy a policy. I see there's a person in the class. I think I know what's happening. When I switch it over, tell me if you can see it when it's not. Wait a minute. Boy, I'm really messing up today, aren't I? How about now? Can you guys see that slide? It's still not showing? You are seeing. Okay. Because if this really gets to pain, I can just skip the slides. I know what I have to say. But I want you to remember this, please, okay? You pay tax either on the payment you make the insurance company or on the check when you get disabled. If my boss doesn't pay taxes on the money he paid the insurance company, and the boss will not, they'll tax deduct it as an employee benefit, then when I get disabled on my group plan and I get a check, I must pay tax on that check. However, I'll pick on Renee because I saw your name on the chat box. If Renee goes out and buys an individual policy, Renee is going to pay for it with money that they paid tax on, which means when Renee gets disabled, that disability income check is tax free. So the principle is you pay tax on one side or the other. And this is a little complicated. I don't want to go into this. Any employer paid the entire premium for a group policy with $1,000 monthly benefit. How much, if any, will be taxed? And the answer to that question is all of it. If the employer pays for it, the check you receive is 100% taxed. If you buy it as an individual and get disabled, your check will be tax-free. So this is where, if you can write that down, that I hope will be helpful to remember. This is really important. In insurance, something determines when you can get paid. In insurance language, we call this a covered peril. What's the covered peril? Sickness or accident that you can't go to work, okay? So that's the covered peril. If you can't go to work, you're covered, but insurance companies can use different definitions. So please be familiar with these two definitions: own occupation and any occupation. And here's, I hope, an easy way to remember it. Look at the word own and the word any, okay? Own occupation, you are disabled if you can't go to the job you have now, your own occupation. So if your work is pretty physical, maybe you work construction or something like that, and you hurt your back and you can't go into work to do that job, if your policy says own occupation, you're disabled, even though you actually could go work another job with the company, right? You could answer phones. But if the policy says own occupation and you can't work construction, you're disabled. Any occupation says if you can work at any job at all, you are not disabled. So understanding this, own occupation says I can't do my own job, but possibly I could work someplace else. Still covered because it says you can't go to your job. Any occupation, I can't go anywhere, then you will be disabled. I must prove is I can't go to my own occupation. On any occupation, I have to prove I can't work anywhere. We have some slides that are examples that really kind of repeat what I said. So usually a person who's highly paid and highly skilled will get own occupation, like a surgeon, okay? Now, a surgeon could go teach at medical school, but because they can't go and practice their surgery, they want to get paid, okay? So they want own occupation. The person who would get any occupation is a person who they really can work anywhere. It won't make much difference. Stocking shelves or working the counter at the store. If they can get into work, they're going to get the same pay anyway. Any occupation works for them. For you, I don't want to complicate this, and sometimes these slides can make it complicated. Please just do this. Any occupation, if I can work anywhere, I'm not disabled. Own occupation, if I can't go to the job I have right now, I am disabled. What? And we go on and on with that. I want to remind you something. If you have an own occupation policy, it's only good as own occupation for 2 years. So allow me to use that surgeon. Can't practice surgery. He's disabled. But after the 2 years, the insurance company will say, hold it, 2 years. Hey, my friend, you can work. Okay. You can work, non-surgery accounts. You could be a primary care. You could be, a specialist that doesn't do surgeries. So we're not going to consider you disabled anymore just because you can't do surgeries. So your own occupation is good for 2 years. Then it kind of becomes any occupation. If you can work anywhere, you will not be disabled. So please try to remember that. Ooh, okay, my friends. The disability income chapter, along with understanding the policy, own occupation, any occupation, there's these words that come up that show up on your test. The first type of disability is a presumptive disability. Seems to show up on most tests. The way we teach this is please remember the number 2. You will get paid on presumptive disability if you can't see, can't hear, can't speak, or you lose 2 limbs permanently. Now, obviously, limbs don't grow back, but if you lose sight, but it's going to come back, it's not going to be a presumptive disability. Permanent loss. So what we did is we described it as a loss of 2 limbs, use of 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 2 lips. Please remember 2. You have to be without 2 permanently to get a check on presumptive disability. So for presumptive disability, if you get asked it, please try to remember 2. There must be permanent loss. Presumptive is we presume you're never going to see again because that's what the doctor told us. Presumptive disability generally lasts for 2 years. And then, just like own occupation, if you're able to find work, you lose your legs. Okay, they're not going to grow back. But after 2 years, you can work in an accounting office and stuff like that. It's only good for 2 years, just like own occupation. Presumptive disability. Presumptive and permanent, 2 words for 2 years. Those are some reminders. Now I'm going to, I should be checking the chat box. Forgive me. So I don't see any questions yet. Okay. That means I have absolutely put all of you to sleep or we're doing okay. Either way, I can't wake you up and I can't answer unasked questions. I'm going to now talk about two benefits that are best understood if you think of them as return to work benefits. What do I mean by that? You are out on disability and the doctor says you can return to work. Okay? That's the situation. The first one is, let me see if I get the right slide lined up. We're going to talk about residual and partial disability. Let's start with partial. PART, part. The doctor says you can go back to work, but only part-time. You got to ease into this. Now, on the test, if that question comes up, it will always be that you can go back to work half-time, 20 of a 40-hour week, half-time. Partial disability allows the insurance company to keep paying you, but they will pay you half your disability check. So you're going to get half your money from work, half from your disability check. If you don't have partial disability on your policy, it's bad because if you go back to work, that insurance company is going to cut you off. You're working, so we don't pay you anything, and you would get your pay cut in half. By having partial disability, it covers you as you gradually get back to work. They just keep reducing your disability by the amount of your full-time check that you're getting. So you get half a disability check and half your regular pay. That's partial disability, going back to work part-time. Now let's talk about residual disability. Some people work commissions, or they own their own business or something like that. They could be going back to work full-time, but not be making much money. Imagine real estate, okay? I get paid when I sell homes, but I've been out of work for 4 months. I haven't listed any homes. There's no closings coming up back to work. And the doctor says, I'm good to go back to work. I go back to zero income. I would like my disability to continue for a while. Partial disability won't work because I can go back to work full time. People like that need residual disability, because residual disability is not based on the hours you can work, but how much your income has dropped. Okay, so the slide says you are earning 40% of your income. So the insurance company reduces your disability check by 40%. So we could have either partial disability or residual disability. Partial is based on how many hours you work, and it's perfect for people who are paid hourly or on a salary. Okay, perfect. Residual is based on how much money you're going to get paid when you go back to work. They don't care about how many hours you can work. And that works good for people on commissions or our real estate or self-employed where their income drops. So residual based on your income. Partial is based on the hours you work. Okay, so we got some things I want you to remember. Remember presumptive disability 2 for 2 years. Permanent loss of 2 somethings for 2 years. Partial disability, going back to work part-time, the insurance company is going to reduce your check by hours worked. Residual disability, the insurance company will reduce your disability check by how much income you have coming in. They're different. Have a basic concept of how these things work. They're going to show up on the test. Key terms to know and understand. Okay, this is not spelled correctly. You know, yeah, guys ever make up slides and you look at it and you say, oh, yeah, that's spelled right. And then you show it to the class, you say, that's not how you spell elimination. Eliminaton. It's elimination period. It's a waiting period. During this time, the insurance company is not going to be paying you. You're going to be using your own resources, PTL at work or savings or whatever. The longer you can wait for a check from the insurance company, the less expensive your policy. Those are the things you need to remember. Melissa, and I do this too sometimes. We call this a time deductible. Instead of saying you have $1,000 deductible, we say you have a 2-week deductible, only the word's not deductible. It's an elimination period. So understand elimination period, and that the longer your eliminate, this is always on the test. If I lengthen my elimination period, what it does it do to my payments? It lessens them. If I shorten my elimination period, I have to pay more money. You have to understand that. If it doesn't make sense to you, please write it down and review it in your minds, because I promise you're going to get at least one test question. But changing the elimination period, what does it do to my rate that I pay? Another way to think about it, although most of you, I'm sure you people in the class have this now, I'm being repetitive, is you can lower your payment on your medical insurance by choosing a higher deductible, and then your payment comes down. This is the exact same thing. You tell the insurance company you don't have to pay me, and you make it longer, they don't have to collect this much money from you. Understand how it affects your rate. The benefit period is how long you want the check to last. It can go from 2 years to age 65. The longer you want the checks to last, the more you're going to have to pay. If a 30-year-old has a policy that's got to pay them till they're 65 if they're disabled, you get a brain injury. You're never going to work again. The insurance company must pay that person for 35 years. I don't care what your policy is paying you. That's going to multiply out to a lot of money. It's going to cost you more to buy that policy. But if you tell the insurance company, no, pay me for 5 years. If I'm still disabled, I'll have to figure something else out. You're going to lower your premium because you're telling the insurance company you're buying less insurance. 5 years versus 35 years. Okay. And I'm not sure I'm making sense to you guys. I hope so. You have to know, changing my elimination period, what does it do to my cost? Changing my benefit period, what does it do to my cost? Because it's on the test. So this is a slide. I've already explained it. I'm not going to bore you with a slide, except this one. I want you guys to try to follow me. At first glance, this looks, oh my gosh, what am I doing? It actually simplifies disability income. So let me explain what we're doing. Start on the left side of the slide. You buy a policy in the year 2000, okay? Now, this policy has a 30-day elimination period. On January 1st, 2010, 10 years later, our client gets disabled, and they have to wait 30 days. So starting January 31st, this client starts to receive their disability income check. But they bought a 2-year benefit period. So every month, Jim gets a check until he's been disabled for 2 years. On January 31st of 2012, the benefit period ends, so he gets no check. Now, and he receives no checks at all. On January 31st, 2013, he has recovered and goes back to work. If he were to get disabled again, we have to do the same process. We are not going to pay him during the elimination period. Then we will pay him up to the end of the benefit period when the check stops. So my hope is that that slide helps you to understand all these things I've been trying to explain since the very first slide of the day. If you're going to take a picture of a slide, my dear friends, please take a picture of this one. Okay, I'm going to pull it up on the full screen without me in it. This is going to be on your test. So for goodness sakes, it's not that much to it. Learn it before you walk in to take your test. A long elimination period lowers your premium. Short elimination period makes you pay a higher premium. Long benefit period is a higher premium. Short benefit period, lower premium. Please look at the statements at the bottom. The cheapest, we're not supposed to say cheap, the least expensive premium is a long elimination period with a short benefit period. You're buying less insurance. The most expensive is a short elimination period with a long benefit period. Please take a photo or screenshot of this slide. This is on your test. Make sure when you walk in to take the test that you're clear on this. It's worth a couple of points. A point here, a point there. You're either passing or failing the test, right? Now, you have to learn 3 business disability policies. If you're studying life insurance, there's some familiarity here, okay? Key person disability is the business buying a policy on a key employee who makes them a lot of money. And they think to themselves, this is the business not being a nice guy. It's not the business loves this employee and wants to help him. The motivation here is the business wants to protect the business. Because if this employee stops working, my business loses money. So I can go to my key employee, we'll pick on Ty Petrie. Ty is a crackerjack salesman. He's ringing the cash register for me every month. And I start thinking, holy cow, if Ty gets disabled, I'm going to start losing. I'm not going to have as much income. So I go to Ty and I say, Ty, I am buying a key person disability policy on you. That means I, Mr. Big Daddy Warbucks here, owns the policy, the company. I'm going to pay for it. Ty, you're going to be insured. If you get disabled, your disability income check is going to me, not you, Ty, because this is a business policy. Key person, business insures an employee. That's how it works. Just remember, business owns it, business pays for it, business gets the check. What does Ty get out of this? An enhanced ego. He knows he's important to the company. Maybe he can use that to negotiate a raise. I don't know. But the policy is for the benefit of the insurance company. Did I say insurance company? No, my business, the business. Key person, taxes. I pay taxes on my disability income check. I'm not allowed to deduct it. Remember me, I'm talking about Daddy Warbucks here. So that when Ty gets disabled, I get that check without taxes because I paid tax on the premium. Okay. I've got a slide at the end about taxes because that can get a little bit jumbled for people. Now we're going to talk about another, you got key person. Buy, sell. Think about this. If key person is between the business and an employee, buy, sell is between owners of the business. So owners insuring owners. That's what buy sell is. Now imagine that Ty is my partner. And one day we're talking and we decide if one of us gets disabled and can't come to work, they still own half the company. So even though they're not working, they're getting half the profits. And so what we want to do is buy a disability policy on each other. And usually you select a long elimination period, like a year, and say, if Ty gets disabled and can't come back for a year, I now can buy him out. Now, it's going to work good for both of us. I'll get full ownership of the company, and Ty will get paid a fair amount. He's going to get what he needs, which is cash. Where's that money coming from? A buy-sell policy. So let's imagine we buy $3 million of disability income on each other. I buy $3 million on Ty. Ty buys $3 million on me. Ty gets disabled. He's out for a year. I get a check for $3 million untaxed. I can then say, Ty, Here's your $3 million. You give me your ownership of the company. We both get what we need. Ty gets money. I get full control of the business. This only works if prior to getting the insurance, we have a legal buy-sell agreement signed by both of us. Because if we don't have an agreement and we get out a year and I got $3 million and Ty says, wait a minute, I don't agree with the amount. I think you should pay me 5. And if you don't pay me 5, I'm keeping half my ownership. This is not going to work, right? So we have an agreement in advance that both of us think is fair. Okay. And then the money comes in from the policy. Now, I never know when I say something like this if that registered. You people have all been studying. Maybe I'm just telling you what you already know. But does anybody want to ask a question about the key person and the buy-sell business policies? Silence says, move on, Peter. I got things to do tonight. There's a good movie on Netflix. I don't know. Let's keep moving, okay? Taxes. Buy, sell, and key person work exactly the same. We don't deduct the premium, which means we pay tax on the premium, and it gives us the check tax-free, which is, if I'm getting $3 million, I don't want to pay tax on that. So the way to do it is you buy the buy-sell policy will give me my benefit tax-free because I'll pay tax on my premium. That's how it works, okay? Then the third one is a business overhead expense. Small business owner becomes disabled. This policy will pay out to maintain, get this, folks, rent, utilities, leased equipment, and employee's salary. It does not cover the owner's income. If the owner wants to have his income replaced, he buys disability income insurance, either individually or group. But what happens is that just pays him. It doesn't pay his expenses at the office. If I'm a dentist, I'm not in a clinic, I own this thing. Every month, I've got to pay rent, leased equipment, employees' salaries, utilities. I got to pay all that stuff. And I'm not making enough in my income to pay all that. So what I do is I buy this overhead policy, which will give me a check to pay the business overhead. So just remember, it pays the overhead. It doesn't pay the business owner's income because they're different things. So you got to know key person, buy, sell, business overhead. Now, let's talk about taxes. This one policy, I deduct my payment to the insurance company, which means that when I get a business overhead check, I must pay taxes. So, my friends, this is hold off on the picture till the next slide. There's 5 disability income policies that you'll get asked income tax questions on. And most people get so confused about this that they panic and everything like that. I want you to notice, of the 5, there's only 2 where the benefit check is taxed. Employer paid group insurance and business overhead. So here's my advice. Rather than trying to learn 5, learn 2. And that's this slide. This is the slide I want you to take a picture of, okay? So, wow, that's better, Peter. Should have been doing that all along. Notice, if you just learn employer paid group insurance and business overhead are the 2 that the check is taxed. Any question they can ask you on taxes, you can figure out by knowing those 2. But Peter, what if they don't ask about the benefits? They ask about the premium. Remember the principle. I got to collect taxes on one side. So if they asked about individual and I know the benefits are not taxed, that means we have to pay tax on the payment. Okay? How do I know the benefits aren't taxed? It's not one of the two. I hope this is making some sense. You got to learn what's on this slide. Now, you can take time and try to get clear on 5 different plans. I'm just trying to give you a shortcut that works. I also want to say one other thing. Some people have mental blocks on taxes. Most states ask very few tax questions. Try your best to get this straight, but don't panic about your test if it doesn't quite come together for you. You're only going to get a couple of tax questions on your test. But if you can learn what I suggest you learn, you will stand in a position to get every one of them right. Wow, will that help? Even if it's only 3 questions. 3 points is 3 points. Okay? So that's my advice on that. Let's move on. I told you I was going to talk about Social Security. So now let's do that. Social Security has got some numbers you've got to get clear on. The first one is you will not be approved for Social Security unless you can prove in the beginning that you will be disabled for at least 12 months or die. So if I get a letter from a doctor saying Peter's never going to work again, he's actually going home to die, Social Security will approve it. If they say there's no way Peter can go back to work in the next year, if he ever works again, it's going to be more than a year, they'll consider my application. If the doctor says he should recover in 3 months, they won't even consider your application. So you must prove that you're going to be out of work for a year for Social Security even to look at you. Let me just go to practical stuff. Remember in the beginning, we said, why would I buy an individual policy? Because I got Social Security. Well, Social Security, sure, but you know how many people can't collect on Social Security because of rules like this? If I had an individual policy, there's no 12-month requirement. If you're disabled past the elimination period, you get a check. Okay, so that's why people buy other insurance, not rely on Social Security. But let's look at more information about Social Security. I told you numbers. The first one, you got to be disabled 12 months. Write it down. Now, you have to be fully insured. More to be fully insured, you must have paid Social Security tax for 40 credits. What's that mean? It's like speaking a foreign language. There are 4 credits in a year. A credit is a fourth of the year. It's 3 months. If I've worked for 10 years, it doesn't have to be consecutive. If I've paid Social Security tax out of my paycheck for 10 years, I'm fully covered for disability income as long as I paid the tax for 40 credits. Another one is not commonly asked on the test is in the last 13 months, 13 credits, I should say. What's that? 3 years. If I've worked a year and a half out of the last 3 years, 6 credits, I'm currently covered. Okay. All I want you to know is they usually ask the first one. What does somebody have to do to be fully insured on Social Security disability? They must have 40 credits, which simply means I paid some Social Security tax for 10 years. Okay. Then covered for Social Security disability. Remember, I told you numbers? I got to be out for 12 months. I have to have paid 40 credits. Now, another number, the waiting period, elimination period for Social Security is 5 months. So I got to know 12 months, I got to be out of work, 40 credits to be insured. And once I get qualified for Social Security disability, the first 5 months, I don't get a check. So there's 3 important numbers that you're going to have to remember with Social Security. Now, how much do I get from Social Security? There's a lot of lingo here, but I'm going to explain it in simple English. Social Security is going to look at how much money you paid income, Social Security tax on in your life. They're going to take out the 5 lowest years. Now, they go back no more than 35 years, but you have to be pretty senior citizen for that to happen. But if I've worked 10 years, they knock out the 5 lowest. And so they give you credit for the highest amount of tax that you've paid. And they give that a name. The name is PIA, Primary Insurance Amount. What that means to me is they have a chart. They look at the primary insurance amount, which is the average income minus your 5 lowest years that you paid Social Security tax on, and that will tell the Social Security how much to pay you. It works out like this. You don't have to understand the numbers. What you have to understand is the people who pay the most tax get the highest check. The people who had lower incomes paid less tax, they get the lower check. The more you pay in, the larger your disability check. They might ask you about primary insurance amount. It's just lingo. You can remember that. All you need to know is they're going to kick out the 5 lowest years to get the calculation. And PIA means the more tax you paid, the higher your check. How long does it last? It lasts for all the way out to age 65. No disability income pays past age 65 because it's not disability retirement. You will then be eligible for Social Security retirement, but they'll pay you up to 65, or when you get healthy and go back to work, they stop paying, of course, right? So it's like having a benefit period to age 65. Now, here's something that I've never seen on a test, but Melissa has. And when Melissa says it, I always defer to her. Um, if you go back to work before 65, they're going to send $500 payments to you for the first 3 months of returning to work. Just kind of like help you get back to work or something. So, because Melissa's seen it on a test, we certainly want to tell you about it. So we've thrown several different questions one could get on Social Security ability. Please pay attention to the numbers. By now, what you should have is a pretty substantial list of items that you want to remember. So let me go to by memory. Hopefully I got it. You want to remember how the policy works. You know, you've got insurance amount, elimination period, benefit period. If I change them, how does it affect my rates? You want to remember the words presumptive disability, partial disability, residual disability. And then you want to understand the tax part. Only 2 policies tax the benefit check: employer sponsored, where the employer pays for it, and business overhead to pay your rent, utilities at work. The only 2 that tax the benefit check. You got to be familiar with Social Security. If you're not going to be disabled 12 months, they're not going to give you anything. You got a 5-month waiting period. You got to have 40 credits of paying for it to be fully insured. So hey, I just taught the whole class in 37 seconds. Look at all the time I could have saved you guys if I just did that. But I want you to know this shouldn't intimidate you. You know basically the stuff, and you just got to do the studying to make sure it's clear in your mind. Now, the question is that actually finishes Social disability income, but I have added long-term care policy to this presentation for a very good reason. What if I told you that they are the same policies? Disability income and long-term care insurance are the same policies. So let me end my sharing. Just come back to me and I'm going to go to the whiteboard, and I'm going to show you what I showed you in the beginning. Long-term care policy, okay? You got to pick an amount of insurance. Only now, there's no relation of insurance to income. You can buy any amount you can afford. Number two, you're going to have to take an elimination period. And number three, you got to tell the insurance company how long your benefit period is. Isn't that the same policy? Its structure's identical to disability income. So when you're studying long-term care policy, you don't have to freak out and say, oh, another policy. It actually works just like a disability income, but it's not disability income. Why? Because, let me skip this slide. It doesn't pay you when you're disabled. So there's no own OC or any OC. Long-term care is not for being sick, but it's needing daily help for living. It's not can you go to work or not, but it's can you do daily activities like going to the bathroom, eating, getting dressed, etc. It's generally used by older people. It could be used by a younger person. I mean, if you got MS, a muscular dystrophy or something like that, and you would lose the ability to take care of yourself, you could need help that's not medical. This is what we call custodial care. Peter says custodial care is care a relative can give you. A relative can come over and cook your meals, feed you, give you a bath, right? Those are the kind of things you need done that long-term care will cover. It'll cover non-medical care that you need to get through the day. Now, minimum benefit period. Remember, benefit period is the third thing. How long can I get paid? It cannot be shorter than 12 months. I can't imagine you'd want it shorter than 12 months, but you can say, I only want benefits for 6 months. No, not on a long-term care policy. It must be at least 12 months long. Most people want it for longer because if you lose your ability to do things, you don't usually recover and get better. So what's the deductible on long-term care? It's also called an elimination period, just like disability income. For long-term care, the elimination period is a minimum of 30 days in a nursing home. So in other words, I cannot buy a long-term care policy with 15 days elimination for my nursing home. It must be at least 30 days. Now, it can be longer. I bought long-term care. I made mine 60 days because I figured I could pay 2 months in a nursing home, and it saved me a lot of money on my premium. Okay. But the elimination period is the same concept. It's just you got to remember it can't be less than 30 days on long-term care. The benefit period can't be less than 12 months on long-term care. So this is what makes it different from disability income. With disability income, any OC, own OC, I can't go to work. But long-term care doesn't work like that. Long-term care works off of activities of daily living. Okay, I should share my screen. Activities of daily living. So if I can't dress, eat, bathe, move myself around, I can't control my bowel movements, which is incontinence. If you can't do two, you can get money out of your long-term care policy. Some insurance companies require three, so we teach you two or three. It's up to the insurance company. Since so many of them sell two, that's what most people buy. If I can't do two. So I have a dear friend in his 80s. He just had to go to assisted living, not nursing care, but he wanted help paying for the assisted living facility. And the doctor did mention that he needs help dressing, and he did have some issues with incontinence. wasn't permanent, but he had them. So because he demonstrated that from a doctor to the insurance company, they stepped up and paid the assisting living. Assisted living doesn't have an elimination period. They paid from month one. Only nursing homes. What's the difference, Peter? Well, if you've never had a relative or somebody go to them, the difference is assisted living, you get like an apartment, okay? And they serve you meals, you go down to the cafeteria. But they take care of things like they have barbers and hair cutters come in, they have doctors that come in, they tend to you and pay attention to you, but you don't need constant care. You go to a nursing home when you just can't do that anymore, where they will get you ready for bed, put you in bed, wake you up, they'll clean you, change your sheets, and all those things. It's more intense, more expensive in a nursing home. Now, is that on your test? No. That's just us talking, okay? Um, what coverages are on a long-term care policy? Okay, now, after saying that, these are not covered by your long-term care policy. Um, skilled nursing. Why isn't that covered? It's constant nurse at a facility. That's medical care. It's a nurse, it's a professional. So, guess what? Your medical insurance is going to pay for that. If you're a senior citizen, Medicare pays for that. So, you don't need insurance to cover it. If you need occasional medical professional, this is intermediate care where the care you get has to come from a nurse or doctor. That's medical. So your long-term care policy doesn't need to step up for that. If you have home health care that requires a nurse to come to your house, your medical insurance will cover that. So your long-term care policy doesn't need to pay for those. These are examples of what they do pay for. Custodial care, activity of daily living helper. So I have another friend whose wife got ill at home and he was providing for her and he became exhausted. So he paid somebody to come in, not a nurse, but he had paid for somebody to come in and relieve him 2 days a week. And what they did is they gave her a bath, did some laundry, made the meals or got the meals ready that he prepared and fed them. They played cards with her, talked to her, you know, laid her down for her nap and just took care of her custodial needs. Nothing medical in there. He had to pay for this person to come in. Long-term care policy would pay that totally. If he had a long-term care policy, that would have cost him nothing. Okay? Respite care, slides not made quick, but that is relief, which is what he had. But sometimes it's not respite care, but maybe you're working and you need someone to come in and do this 4 hours a day. Those are covered by long-term care as long as it's not medical. If you want to put the insured into adult daycare, which is exactly what it sounds like, you drop them off, they have activities for them, they give them snacks, they watch them and they do things with them. That's not medical, but your long-term care policy will step up and pay for it. That's why we buy long-term care policies. Now, long-term care policies don't cover everything. First of all, they're not going to cover anything that's medical. They don't cover pre-existing conditions. Okay? So if you have a condition that's going to cause you to need care, you will not be covered for that. It doesn't cover mental and nervous disorders, schizophrenia, things like that. It doesn't cover alcoholism, drug abuse, illness caused by war. If you participate in a crime and need help, they're not going to help you. And it won't cover anything that's covered by your medical insurance or workers' comp. That's what's excluded. Please remember this. If you get a long-term care policy, it absolutely must cover Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. So here's what the insurance companies do. They're not in the business of just throwing money at their clients. If you want this policy, you're going to have to demonstrate to them that you have good cognitive recognition. They make you do a cognitive recognition test. If you fail it and they see that some of the gears are slipping up here, they'll just decline you. They don't have to accept you because they know if they accept you and you get dementia, they have to pay for it. So you got to prove to them you don't have it to get approved for the policy. If you have Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's, you will get declined because the insurance company can't exclude it. Okay. Now, what about the other ones like alcoholism? Well, they're not going to cover that anyways. So technically, you could get approved for the policy. I will tell you this, the decline rate on these policies is high because people wait too long to try to buy them and they've become sick. They've got conditions, and the insurance company sees the conditions and says, no soup for you. Okay, so the best time to buy a policy is when you're enjoying some good health. Uh, a lot of people don't do that. They wait till they're in their 70s and then they say, oh my goodness, I've developed this condition. Maybe I should get something that will pay for my nursing home. It may be too late because maybe you won't get accepted, but that's not on the test. Just sharing it with you because I know you people want to know as much as you can. Will I have enough money when it comes to using the policy? Because here's a problem. I buy this long-term care policy when I'm 60, but I don't need it until I'm 80. So if I buy it today, I might buy like $6,000 a month of insurance because that's what my nursing home charges. 20 years from now, that nursing home might be charging $20,000 a month. And I got this dinky little $6,000 policy. What can I do about that? You can put inflation guard in the policies. Um, One is guaranteed insurability. Again, if you want to remember all this, just take a picture of the slide, which you pay extra for it. And in the future, it allows you to increase your policy without answering any health questions. That's a nice benefit. But you can only buy by, I might be able to increase it by $500 a month. So if I want to increase the policy, I should be doing it as I go along, not wait 20 years. COLA is the most popular, cost of living adjustment. You buy that in advance, it's built into your premium. You don't have to pay any more money. You say to them, I want to buy 3% inflation guard. And they'll tell you how much that's going to cost. And that's your premium you pay for the rest of your life. But every year, they will increase your benefit by 3%. So when you get to 80, you probably have 15, 16,000 a month if you buy COLA. Now I'm going to just tell you a secret. There's a few of in the class, and it's just between me and you. Don't tell anybody. Insurance companies are right now always offer COLA when they propose a sale. And if the people don't want it, they have to check a box that says, I know about it and I choose not to take it. Because they got in trouble where people said, I don't have enough insurance, and they never told me about COLA. And they did it. So they had to pay fines and help the people out. That's not going to happen anymore. The policy will come with COLA unless you take it off. Okay. I don't know if that's on the test, but if you're ever going to start selling these policies, that actually is good. Then I, as an agent, am not going to hear in 15 years, oh, that guy never told me about COLA. Geez, I got to look up records from 15 years ago. Yeah, I got a box that said, do you want COLA? And you said no, and it's signed. It's on the application. Okay. Just tell you that's just something I want to share with you. You can buy a policy where what happens if I die and I never use the policy? Okay. These policies are not inexpensive, they're not cheap. And I don't like that. You can buy a return of premium on the policy. So if you die and you never used any benefits, you get the premium returned to your family. Okay? So that's a things about long-term care insurance. And that ends my presentation with all the slides. However, I think the best presentation is when I'm not using the slides. I'm just talking to you. We got to give you an ad here. That's my personal email. If you ever want to write to me and say, Peter, I thought you said this in the class and I read in the book, that's not true, write to me. If there's a discrepancy between a teacher and what's in your book, always learn the book because the state takes their questions from what's in the book. Okay. What you can do to hear more from me if you want, you go on YouTube with the Insurance Exam Queen, and there'll be a button on there that says join or subscribe and join. If you click join, I've got all the classes for all life and health court chapters recorded that you can have for a subscription rate of $25 a month. So if you know, I'm not trying to compete with Melissa. She does the same thing with PNC. But if you want to just subscribe and only pay $25 a month, I got life and health and you can do it right in there. Okay, that's how you get to it. Click the join button. Let me right now get rid of the slides. And let's be real here. I'm going to say how I did. How I did is how I did. You either liked it or you didn't like it. But if you have ideas on how to improve, I will certainly listen to them. I think the other question is, imagine class is over and you're packing up your books to go home, and there's something that you just can't get right in your brain. I'm here. Ask me, maybe I can help you. That goes beyond disability income and long-term care. If there's something in your studies that just isn't making sense to you, I can hang around for a few minutes and try to answer your questions. Okay. So I make that offer for those of you that are leaving. Thank you for attending. Look for me. I'm going to do future live classes and just little things to help you hopefully understand these topics better. Okay. So what do you say? I know you can't talk, but you can write it on the chat box if there's anything you want to comment on or talk about. Let me ask a question since there's still several of you here. Were the slides helpful or just a distraction? I have mixed emotions about using them. I haven't used them up till right now. Helpful or kind of a distraction? Well, you're welcome for sure. They were helpful, Ty? Okay. I thought going back and forth was a little clumsy to me, but it kind of made me cover everything, and hopefully it made some sense. So if there are no questions, thank you for coming. Look for me in the future with live classes. Melissa comes on with live classes. We just want to get you guys through the test. Okay. So if you can do that, if we can help you pass, that's what you do. So thank you for this. Have an enjoyable evening. Please study, do what you're supposed to do, follow the instructions from the Insurance Exam Queen. You will pass. We get emails every day saying they couldn't pass it without us. So I know it works. It works really well. Stay healthy, study hard, and if I can see you in the future, I would look forward to it. Good night, everybody.